Humans. Such foolish people. When I first met a human, I was confused by it. My childish curiosity always had me wonder about them. They looked strange as they moved so gracefully with their legs as I was still struggling to keep my balance. The human I saw, Jonathan Beckon, just stood on one. His left leg was missing. I was too young to realize then, but he was a veteran, and I an angel. How could I have known? He always carried a smile wherever he went and brought joy brighter than the stars that blind us from the truth. I never realized to ask. I wanted to be like him, smiling through whatever happened. How foolish could he be? So I studied hard, I worked hard. I stood in formation. I raised my gun to my shoulder and saluted the passing officer. I could have attended the most pristine universities the galaxy had to offer, but no. I wanted to become someone who could protect everyone with a smile, just like he did. How foolish could I be? Whether or not it was physical ability, marksmanship, psychological profiling, and intelligence, I excelled at everything. I was a model soldier, and I was cherry-picked by a general to join the Iron Angels. I was ecstatic. I was dragged through the muds of countless death worlds. Carnivorous flora wanted to devour me, the fauna even more. Be it raisin maws, acrid lilies, stampede hogs, or danger noodles, I was being hunted down by anything and everything these planets had to offer. My instincts became sharper than a tungsten needle, my body and mind stronger than steel. Afterward, I immediately attended countless lectures on topics I could barely understand. Information about classified technologies, eldritch abominations, and weapons of universal destruction. Everything an info hazard. After each lecture, my brain tried to forget them, but I couldn't vomit it out. How foolish was I? Then, I was ready. 5 years had passed, and out of 1,000 chosen candidates, only 100 would remain. 100 of the most elite soldiers in the galaxy. What was the reward in this? I've yet to see battle, but I've been through it. I was given a small pamphlet congratulating me for becoming an Iron Angel. I was called and I entered the hangar with a smile, as I was met with my very own suit of armor. I am such a fool. A decade went past as I participated in countless battles from war to war. The thrill of battle became duller each passing moment until boredom remained. The moment I entered the battlefield, I already knew how I could change the tide of battle to our favor. I knew I was shot at before the first bullets were being fired. The quick death of those unfortunate enough to cross my path was the only thing I found solace in. War became a mundane, everyday part of my life, and I became complacent. I was a fool. During a routine mission on the planet Parafel, we were ambushed by a small number of Craxian Marines. I was slow to act, knowing everything would be fine if we held the position until the enemy withdrew their forces. I knew Craxians were stubborn, but I underestimated that severely. Instead of withdrawing, the incoming fire became more saturated by the moment, until my instinct screamed for my attention. I turned to look, and somehow, a single Craxian devastator had managed to flank us without anyone, no, me, noticing. I panicked. They were aiming for the armored vehicle behind me. I would have gladly sacrificed it, but civilians were inside it. In a split second as the devastator fired, I charged my shield into overdrive. The searing heat scorched my back, as the Hinks couldn't keep up with the load. I leapt in front of the vehicle, and the devastator impacted my shield. The shield cracked. The blast shattered it as a jet of blistering plasma pierced through it, engulfing my entire lower torso in immense light. The jet deflected right past the vehicle just as I collapsed to the ground, my left leg missing. My consciousness slipped away, just as the vehicle managed to escape, before a medic rushed over to my side. I thought, I am a fool. I was honorably discharged from the military a couple years back. Everywhere I look, I only see sorrow in people's eyes. Were these the people I really wanted to protect? Where was the happiness I saw before I enlisted? I entered the rustic-looking bar as I saw shelter from the rain and thunder. I pulled back my hood and surveyed the bar. I recognized most of the wood used in this establishment was from Terra, and many of the customers were human. I sat down at the counter next to an old man. "Can I get another whiskey?" Something in his voice sparked a childhood memory, and I turned to look at him. Older, but a familiar face with a slight smile. My eyes widened as I quickly glanced at his left leg. Prosthetic. "You're Jonathan Beckon, right?" I asked the old man. I am. Who are you? Jonathan said as he looked toward me. Hey, I recognize you. You're one of the lads of the orphanage. You've grown up. It's been a while, I said, as he ordered a drink for myself with a wave. A while is a long time now. How have you been? He asked, but paused when his eyes noticed my prosthetic leg. What happened? It's a long story, but I wanted to ask you one thing, I said, before looking into his eyes. How'd you do it? How'd you keep on smiling? Jonathan stared at me, and for the first time his smile vanished. I think I saw pity in his eyes. You've seen war, haven't you? I took a deep breath. I wanted to become a someone like you, I said as I sipped my drink. I became an iron angel, and now I feel like nothing I did mattered. I heard him abruptly exhale from his nose as he now smiled. You know, I asked the same thing for the person I looked up to after I, too, became an angel because of him. What? I stuttered, but mustered myself to ask something else. Who was he? His name was Luke Carter, a brave man who held to his values until his death at the ripe age of 121. He, too, always had a smile on his face. Jonathan took a sip of his whiskey, as I silently listened. I may not have changed the world for the better when I was on the battlefield, but when I smiled back home, the world was a brighter place for all of us. Jonathan said, as he looked into my eyes. That's what he said, and we both kept on smiling. Is that so? I asked with a smile, just before I sipped my own drink. I better smile then. We're such foolish people.